From the ancient Egyptian city that was home to two wonders of the ancient world, to the capital city of the ancient Assyrians, here are the greatest ancient cities.
Hey guys, how's it going? I'm your host, American Eye. Be sure to do us a favor and hit that like button, and also smash that subscribe button to help us get to 1 million subscribers.
Number 11. Syracuse. The ancient Greek city of Syracuse isn't located in Greece, but actually in Sicily. It's the birthplace of the ancient Greek mathematician and engineer Archimedes. The city was founded over 2,700 years ago and played an important strategic role for control over the Mediterranean. It was originally a Greek colony that enjoyed a vast amount of prosperity under the ruler of Gelon during the 5th century BC. The ancient city gained a reputation for being a cultural center and would ultimately become a democracy after Gelon's demise. In 415 BC, there was an Athenian plot to attack Syracuse, where the Athenians managed to capture the city, but eventually the Syracusians would become victorious. The city would eventually become even greater under the rule of the Romans when it became a provincial capital. Some notable landmarks here include the Roman amphitheater and the Temple of Apollo. Number 10. The ancient city of Petra. This historical city in Jordan is well known for its buildings cut from rock. It also goes by the name of the Rose City due to the color of stone that it was built from. Around 312 BC, it was the capital of the Nabateans and where nomadic traders would settle down in the middle of the desert. The mysterious city was an important crossroad for trading commodities like spice and silk. The place was forgotten about until it was rediscovered in 1812, and to this day, there's still things we don't know about this place. It's been described as one of the most precious cultural properties of man's cultural heritage by UNESCO. This theater that you see here was carved out of the cliffside. The photo that we see here is of the well-known El Deir, translating to the monastery. The views of the desert from this city can be quite remarkable. Visit this one while you still can. Water erosion and heavy amounts of tourism are causing irreparable damage to these ancient monuments. Number 9. Palmyra. Celebrated as the Pearl of the Desert, Palmyra, located in Syria, was a thriving trade city along the Silk Road, which traded goods as far away as India. Remnants of this city showed what mankind was capable of in the middle of the desert and with barely any resources nearby. Temples once stood here for thousands of years. It reached its golden age in 260 AD after the Palmyran Empire was victorious in battle against the Persians. The empire here displayed a unique culture, but artwork and architecture displayed showed influence from Romans and Greeks. It's hard to tell what still exists since Google Maps in this area is outdated, but it's believed that parts still remain. Here in this photo, we see the Tetra pylon that was destroyed in 2017. Here we see the Temple of Bel that was also destroyed in 2015 from civil unrest and looting. Something needs to be done quickly before all the evidence is completely gone. Number 8. Thebes. With ancient Egypt being home to some notable wonders of the ancient world, the Temple of Karnak located in this ancient city of Thebes is certainly one that may get overlooked. It's a temple complex that's comprised of temples, chapels, pylons, and other buildings. Located in the ancient capital city of Thebes, it dates back to around 4,000 years ago and has an impressive display of artwork, hieroglyphics, and architecture. It's also considered to be the largest religious building ever constructed, covering 200 acres of land, and was an ancient place of pilgrimage. Enormous ceremonies and festivals were held within its walls each year. When Ramses the Great was pharaoh and Egypt had reached its golden age, it was considered to be the most important of all religious complexes in the land. Today, the vast statues still remain, but during its peak, one can only imagine its greatness. Number 7. Rome. Typically, when we think about the greatest ancient cities in the world, we tend to think of ancient Rome, but this could be because of their great accomplishments in engineering. With remnants of their empire still standing strong today, the capital city of the Roman Empire would have certainly blown our minds and would still surpass our imaginations. The Romans were first to construct supermarkets, which would have been filled with merchandise from all across the empire. The Colosseum was primarily used for gladiatorial fights and could fit an estimated 87,000 people. It was constructed in the 1st century AD and is still lucky to exist. In the year 296 AD, lightning struck the wooden floor of the arena, and much of the enormous amphitheater was set ablaze by Mother Nature. As demand for games and spectacles grew rapidly, the Circus Maximus was constructed for racing. It was used in a similar manner to the Colosseum in regards to other events such as gladiatorial fights, beast hunts, athletics, and plays. Spectators were kept safe from the chaos by a large barrier. Many of their great accomplishments were seemingly constructed to keep the public unaware of political affairs, and eventually Rome would be sacked due to looting barbarians. Number 6. Jerusalem. Many often forget that Jerusalem is one of the oldest cities in the world that is still inhabited after 5,000 years. It's been under the control of many different kingdoms throughout history. Some evidence would suggest that the first settlement of Jerusalem was established near Gihon Springs. According to the Bible, the Israelite kingdom constructed the city we know of today around 1000 BC. Jerusalem became the city of David, and eventually the Temple of Solomon would be constructed, which would eventually become the headquarters for the Knights Templar. But you'll have to see our video about the Templars for more info on that. The city would also be continuously attacked by the Philistines, the Arabs, and even the Romans. The ancient fortifications and walls around the city still exist, as well as the Western Wall, which is the only remaining portion of the Temple of Solomon. Number 5. Hattusa. This historical site in Turkey used to be the former capital of the Hittite Empire, which was one of ancient Egypt's archenemies. They occupied much of Turkey, parts of modern-day Israel, Lebanon, and Syria. This late Bronze Age city was a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and it was discovered in the early 1900s. The Hittite Empire slowly disintegrated, most likely from drought in the area, and even possibly earthquakes. The city was completely abandoned around 1200 BC, but the Great Sphinx Gate, which was the main entrance to the city, still remains. The stone walls that fortify the ancient capital were reconstructed in a similar style architecture that historians believe would have been used by this civilization. Some amazing pieces of art, like this photo of the 12 Hittite gods of the underworld, still exists, but much of the place is in ruins. Number 4. Athens. Ancient Athens was first inhabited sometime around 7000 to 5000 BC, but never really became a functioning city until around 1550 BC during the Mycenaean period, when large fortresses were constructed. The city flourished under the rule of Pericles during the 5th century BC, when the Parthenon was constructed. This enormous temple dedicated to the goddess Athena was certainly one of the finest examples of Doric architecture, and completed in the 5th century. It's been through quite a bit of punishment in the past, and is truly a miracle that it's still standing and not some mythical place. Xerxes and his armies captured Athens and set it on fire. Later on in 1687, the Ottoman Turks who occupied Greece used this ancient temple as an ammunition and gunpowder storage depot. The Venetians bombarded the city, and the Parthenon exploded, destroying much of the temple and its artwork. In any case, Athens still appears to be a bustling metropolis in modern times. Number 3. Nineveh. Currently located on the outskirts of Mosul, Iraq, Nineveh was located in the Fertile Crescent of Mesopotamia. It was constructed by the Assyrians, and a considerable amount of it was destroyed in modern times. Many remarkable ancient artifacts have still been uncovered here. An ancient library containing thousands of cuneiform tablets were uncovered in this city in 1894. It housed a book known as the Epic of Gilgamesh, but also contains works on the creation of Earth, man, and the gods. This was known as the Enuma Elish, which tells the tale of a god who mixed blood with clay to create the first humans. It also gives the first accounts of the Anunnaki, or the ones who came to the heavens and helped with the development of Sumeria. They also made deliberate changes to humans so they could advance through society much quicker. Chanchan. The city of Chanchan in the country of Peru was founded by the Chamorro Kingdom in 850 AD, and the largest city of pre-Columbian era in South America. The name Chanchan translates to sun for its warm, sunny climate. It was eventually conquered by the Incas, and the city fell into decline during the 15th century AD. It's known for its great riches, and it was looted by the Spanish conquistadors, and they managed to recover roughly $5 million worth of gold here. In modern times, the city was excavated in the 1960s, and eventually it was designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's under threat by various environmental factors, including heavy rains, flooding, and powerful winds. More in-depth excavations would also reveal this site to be home to the world's largest mass sacrifice, with more than 140 human skeletons discovered. They would also find hundreds more from llamas in 2019. But before we get to number 1, we'd like to hear your thoughts on what city you would travel to if you had a time machine. Let us know in the comments section, and maybe we'll feature you in an upcoming video. And number 1, Alexandria, Egypt. Named after one of the greatest conquerors of all time, Alexander the Great, this city was meant to be the capital of Egypt under their rule. It's believed that this was only a small village before the Macedonians arrived. For a long period of time, it was considered to be the center of the intellectual and cultural world. It was also home to two of the ancient wonders of the world. One was known as the Library of Alexandria, which was eventually burned down somehow by the Romans, and eventually the whole thing was gone by the end of the 3rd century. During the rule of Julius Caesar, 40,000 scrolls were burned in the Roman Civil War. Many secrets of the ancient world would literally go up in flames on that fateful day. During its peak, it likely held up to 100,000 books. There was also the Lighthouse of Alexandria, which was eventually destroyed during the Middle Ages due to earthquakes. Some of the remains of the lighthouse were discovered by French scuba divers in the 1990s, which proved its existence. It's still quite a mystery exactly how it looked, and there's still some debate among scholars.
If you guys want to see more cool videos like this, be sure to subscribe for new weekly videos.